Good afternoon, everyone. Jason here. Today is February 5th, and this is your aftermarket update. All right, it's been well over a week since we've made one of these trading videos. We have been quite busy over the course of the last week and a half. In fact, the trade room was closed all week last week as we were preparing for and then ultimately conducting our first live training class that we have done in a couple of years. And so it was a highly successful training class. And as we rolled out of that training class and came right into our trading here today, we were applying some of the techniques that we taught. We had a fantastic one and done CL trade. If you look up at the top left, you'll see that we had a $1,160 one trade, two lot, almost 6-to-1 reward to risk ratio trade. In addition to that training that we conducted last week, we also rolled out our NinjaTrader 8 market maker levels, and that's what you see on screen here today. So the look and feel is a little bit different. If you've been watching our videos, the look and feel here is a bit different. So we might as well talk about these market maker levels here for just a moment. We have three different types of levels that we look at. We look at an RTH session level. They provide structure and context for the overnight session. We have another set of levels that we call our RTH session levels. Now, I have drawn the bands around these levels, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But one of the things that we know about support resistance ideas is that they are rarely to the tick, and more often than not, than they are zones of influence. So for the CL, we use 10 ticks around the support resistance levels on either side. So this tick count is set to 20. We could turn that off, and those levels go off like that. And so again, when you have that zone of influence enabled, it just builds the bands around those areas. So we're going to leave those on right now as we talk about how we traded today. One of the things that we spent a lot of time talking about in our trading session on Monday is developing a narrative for the market. So if the market has a story to tell every day, it's our job to kind of determine what that story is. Once we determine the story, we look to see what the context, and then we form our strategies or our narrative for the market, and then we end up executing our trading strategies based on our tactics, support resistance, and those kinds of ideas. So as we sit down here today, we go through a worksheet that we have every day that we complete. And we were just kind of getting the idea here that after January's big sell-off, and again, this is our first trading day back since the close of January and into February. After January's big sell-off, February began to trade in a bouncing area, and the area dated back to February of 2019. And however, February's month had made a new low. This was the fifth consecutive week of lower lows dating back to May of 2019. The price area between right around 51.50 to 59 has been hit in that zone 5 times and rejected on the weekly chart. However, the market was still kind of looking to the downside. The daily chart, with the exception of today, had made was rallying against a backdrop of 5 consecutive days of lower lows. And then, of course, we had a steep decline on the 60-minute chart, but we did have a structure point up there around 51.50. So that kind of set the tone for us here today. Once we got into our narratives, we said that there were really going to be 4 ideas that we were going to be looking at. The first idea today, we said the market was long and strong. The relative volume was at 174%. Of the previous 4 win-days. So again, good strong volume and participation as the market was getting into it today. And we said that we were going to watch for a strong opening and look to capitalize on a long opportunity if the cumulative delta began to line up. Well, at the open this morning, the delta did not line up with what we were looking at. In fact, as we opened, the market was opening and trying to push down a little bit, and the cumulative volume was pushing down. We also said that today was Inventory Wednesday, and after several aggressive days down, the market is rallying out of an area that had been support again dating back to May of 2019. We talked about that. A pullback into yesterday's point of control and volume point of control for the RTH session was going to give us an opportunity to look to get long. And so that RTH session volume point of control was here at, the TPO point of control was here at around 56, and the volume control point of control was down there around 53. And so that was going to be an area that we were going to be looking for. In addition to that, we had our overnight level. You had a set of overnight levels right down here. This is let's see, yeah, this is 50, 56. And so this was kind of one of those areas that we were talking about the market pushing down into potentially, and then we would look to get long. So as we got into the open today, the market actually only pushed down here to 60. I think that was 68 if my memory serves. So the market pushed down here to 68, and so it didn't quite reach out into our level. And what we were talking about is a breakthrough our RTH signal resistance point. And so as we were doing that today, that's one of the areas that we were talking about. Didn't quite make it down here. And once we broke over the top of our market maker level and pulled back into it, we talked about targeting initially to 65 to 70. And then ultimately we were looking to try to take out the RTH target. But we ultimately get in here at the 04 level. And again, that lined up with this narrative on the pullback to 50, 60 to 50, 50. And so it was going to be in that zone. It actually didn't quite come down that far. It got to within 8 ticks. But for us, that was enough to be able to say, okay, that checkbox was filled. And then it was in that area that you could see here that the cumulative delta began to rally. And as we got through 50, 90 into this area and over 51, the cumulative delta volume was rallying. And that was on a 1-minute chart. And we were in. Right, and the rest, as they say, is history. We ended up taking it from this level, broke out up over the top, pulled back into our level. We took the long. We were talking about targeting 66. It hit 65, and once it hit 65, we could see some selling starting to come in, and I quickly pulled the trade off for what ended up being 58 ticks times 2 lots. And you can see up here on the P&L on the price ladder, which is shown on screen all day, every day, you can see that we had a very handsome one and done CL trade of the day. So NinjaTrader 8 levels are out. Come into the chat room and check them out. They're pretty slick. We think they're pretty cool. Also, we are trading in front of a live audience every day, trading the methodology that you'll get to see and hear us analyze the market on a day in and day out basis. And I think you'll find that there's some valuable information in that content as well. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the trade of the day. What we do is I show you where we get in. You'll see where our stops are placed. You'll hear me talk about targets, and then we'll speed up the tape, put some music behind it, and then you'll be able to see our exit, and you'll be able to line that price ladder up with what you see right here today as our final total. So without further ado, here is that OTG trade of the day. But you'd be looking to try to target up to 51.65 to 70. There's hit but no fill in at 04. The stop right now is 94, and I'm going to be looking to target up into, well, we're going to get up through the high, and then let's turn off the ETH session for a second and look here. RTH target up above, up there at 78. That's what we're going to be looking for, is a target move into 78. We got to get through the high, which is at 19.